the paradigm? Are we going to finally move away from the contract mafia owned and operated parties? Are we going to finally pierce that screen that separates us from really engaging our democracy? I don't know. I really don't know. We have a lot going on. We're busy with a lot of stuff. We're launching shadow MPs. We have PEP farms up and running. PEP media is bubbling. And we do a lot. We do a lot for a lot of people. But until the people of Trinidad and Tobago stand together, all of this, as sexy as it is getting us nothing, it's getting us nowhere. And I want that to be the message that I leave you with tonight. That if we are all not fighting to get all of us on the same side, and I'm not talking about political parties, I'm not joining with no political parties. I see them all. And if we can't win because the public too splintered and they're not willing to realize that unless they vote in their own self-interest, it's not going to happen. And I was watching this documentary tonight, you should watch it, about the engineering behind the building that they built in Singapore that broke so many global records. And Singapore is the first of its kind in the world, the biggest of its kind in the world, the largest overhang in the world, the only building with the only 3 buildings connected by a floating cantilever in the world. And I'm thinking, that's a country a third of the size of Trinidad and Tobago that never had oil or gas. And it's first world and it's developed, and the only difference in Singapore is the people. Trinidadian people. Dylan Carter is the king of swimming. You know why he's the king of swimming? Because Keith Rowley and the PNM can't give him a HDC house. I'm telling you. They can't give him his name on a plane. When he touched down in Trinidad, he bigger than Keith Rowley and anybody in the PNM. He's bigger than them. He left here bigger than them. But now, he's a king of the world in something. And the PNM has nothing to offer. All the PNM could do is throw scraps for rabble. And that's how they treat our athletes, like rabble. I'll never forget reading the article about the state going against Phillip for a bicycle tire. And I tell myself, this is the bicycle this boy rides to represent Trinidad, and they humiliate that boy for a bicycle tire. But you can't do Dylan Carter that. You can't do Stephen Ames that. You can't do George Bovell III that. You can't do people who need nothing from the PNM. No athlete, none. No athlete of any kind owes their ability to Trinidad and Trinidad training or anything that Trinidad or any government did for them. Not one. And all of our athletes who come back here with a little fame and a little recognition, the government takes advantage of them. They're usually poor. They usually come from humble circumstances. So a HDC house and a little big up is all they need. But the government not getting away with that with Dylan Carter, so they're not going to stunt with Dylan Carter. Like they can't stunt with Stephen Ames, and they can't stunt with George Bovell III. So the most that they could do is PNM, like a Pommy One, Keith Rowley, like a sufferer on his page, congratulating Dylan Carter, but he can't say nothing else because he knows nothing about Dylan Carter. He knows nothing about swimming. He knows nothing about sport. He knows nothing about nothing that is Trinidad and Tobago. We've had a lineup of jackasses as prime ministers in this country that have facilitated looting for their friends, family, financiers, and the 1% contract mafia. But Keith Rowley is the worst we've ever had. And this country was always breaking. It was breaking from Eric Williams, the It was breaking from Eric Williams. Because I had to explain to somebody who came to meet with me this morning, and he said he speaks for people and he speaks for all these youths, and they want change, and they want to link up, but he want to talk, and he giving me all of his information, and I tell him, I said, brother, there is no magic in this thing, you know. Trinidad has been destroyed by greed and fear. Greed and fear. Greed at the top. Greed at the top. People who work themselves till they're dead just to get more. You're supposed to work to provide a comfortable life for yourself and to leave a starting life for your children. That's about it. Anything else other than that is hoarding. Now, generational wealth and all this bullshit aside. Because that's the things that spoil the world. For there to be one rich man, there has to be 10,000 very poor men. If everybody had $1 million, then everybody would be a millionaire, then nobody would be rich. So grasp that, extrapolate that to million, billion, trillion, whatever. It requires a certain amount of desperately poor people to be the contrast for there to be a rich person. So wealth in and of itself does nothing for nobody. But Keith Rowley is too stupid to know that. He's a goat herder from Tobago. And he doesn't know enough to know how stupid he sounds. So when he sat on CNC3 on Sabga Network to say he had no problem with the rich getting richer, he was there with a collar and a leash. And he was talking for the people who hold in the leash. Because Keith Rowley will leave office with some extra money. Them fellas know how to fix themselves. But nothing compared to the people who have their hand on his leash. And I don't understand. There is this video of this bubblehead whining jackass who whined his whole neck for PNM. And his whole video, I'm watching that video and I'm thinking of Harriet Tubman when she said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. Rhoda Barrett's job is to con black people for PNM. And she's highly paid to keep black people conned and suffering. That's how it works. That's how it works. Now that highly paid to Rhoda Barrett is plenty money, because before PNM came into office, she couldn't afford to live. She was a sufferer. So $30,000 a month to her. But she will do cartwheels for call members on his dining room table, naked if he asks her. Because he own her. He have his hand on her leash. And this is what is ruining Trinidad and Tobago. That there are not enough people of integrity. And that girl, Rhoda Barrett, is a lecturer at our university. I am ashamed of that. I am ashamed of our university that it could hire Rhoda Barrett as a lecturer. I mean, the girl is scum. She speaks like scum. I mean, the PNM fixed her teeth and her face and her hair, so she's looking less scummy. But she's nobody's leader. She's nobody's lecturer. All her posts in life, Power 102 in the morning with Steve Kahn, is just clown shows for the PNM. And she's been making her money on that. That's the high point of her life. That's where she will go. That's where she will go. Fitzgerald Hines, who was looking for the piper and the black man that came to beg him at Massey stores. And Fitzgerald Hines doesn't understand how he epitomizes Django. How he epitomizes that role Samuel Jackson played in Django. Fitzgerald Hines is that man. He even receded the airline to fit it. And the juxtaposition of him, a proud black Rasta man who wanted to drive a stake in the heart and break the hand and cut off the dread of a little black boy who kissed camera feet or some shit like that. He speaks like his job is to literally con black people into stupidness, into a stupor. But he's afraid and he's a coward. He's a coward, and his legacy will be running from a fellow who skate water on him. And even though you use whatever leverage you had to get that boy jailed, you still run from water. And now that you talk all that shit for that little teacher who had to secure those kids, and somebody posted somewhere, she said, I read this and I wanted to share it, but it was so long, I didn't know how to screenshot it and share it with her name. But she said that there was a shooting in her street one night, and she said she woke up in terror, hearing the gunshots, hearing the screams. She said it was terror. She crawled on her belly to get to her mother's bedroom, and she and her mother crawled under the bed and stayed there. And she said it was only when the sun started to rise and flashing lights outside and sirens and people that they dared even look out the window, and they saw them moving the body and stuff. And she said it was months before she, as a grown-up, was able to ever even contemplate going back into her bedroom and sleep. And she's a grown-up. Can you imagine those little children? One of those bullets hit the school. I put my hand in the bullet hole when I went, and I didn't have a detail. Fitzgerald Hines is a coward, but not all politicians are cowards. I heard it went on, and I went there. I put my hand in that bullet hole. And for a bullet to hit a wall and make a hole and fragment, the sound on the other side of that wall. Now you could imagine in the video, we're hearing the gunfire, but we're hearing it recorded. We're not hearing it live, like those children was hearing it live. And when that one bullet hit that wall, inside that classroom must have turned to sheer terror. They moved from fright to terror. And until it was over, and until somebody came and opened that door to say, everybody okay in here? It's all right, it's over. Until then, panic, terror. And that stunting jackass talking about it was 200 meters away. A bullet could travel 2,000 meters. But he talking about 200 meters away. High-powered weapons that hit a concrete block and shatter. I don't know what new to add to the conversation. I went and stood up. You see, you have to wait. You have to wait for it to happen. You have to wait for somebody to die. Somebody else is going to die at Gandhi Village Roundabout. Somebody else is going to die in another country, in a serious country. Rohan Sananan would run for his life if that happens. But this is not a real country. In this country, we have corrupt people appointed to every office of state. Now, you could fix that. You could change that because you have me. Was me? Me is an option. Me is somebody that's willing to go at it and change it. Me is somebody that's willing to give up a lot and sacrifice to fix it. That's what you have. You have me for that. But I don't know who else you have. I don't want it to be me. I don't want to be in the parliament. I don't want to be in government. I don't want to be in the Prado. I don't need any of that. All the shit that Fitzgerald Hines and Keith Rowley and even short crepe paper jackass Colmenbert need to make them feel better about their pitiful little lives. Because I remember something, you know. Them fellas are still watch themselves in the mirror. And all the Prado and all the blue lights and all the yes sir, morning sir, good morning sir, going to end, and they know it. And they're going back to their same petty suffering lives. Even if now they're living it in a big house, they still have to look in the mirror and see that face. Look back. I don't need none of the things they need. And I don't want this. I don't want this for me, but I'm looking around. I had so much hope in Gary Griffith for a minute. And then Peter George and Gary become a 1% and it over. Who are we going to look towards? Who? Who is strong enough? When you call names like Vasant Bharat and Mariano Brown, these fellas on tour, they go into the media, and Abdullah, these fellas on tour, they go into the media and they showing, it's like Miss World. You see Miss World last night, the girls have to come out in bikinis and show their body and then talk into a mic and answer serious questions as if anywhere else in the world, women in bikinis are asked about world peace. But put all that aside. That's what Vasant Bharat and Mariano Brown and David Abdullah, that's what they're doing. They on tour in the political version of Miss World and hoping somebody will call them at election time and say your name and your face will fit in right. If Vasant could get a post in PNM because he's a UNC, and Mariano Brown could get a post in UNC because he's a PNM, and that's the con game, the shell game that is our politics. And they have so many more years between now and an election that to give up that much of your time and your life for people who don't seem to understand that they have a responsibility too is really asking a lot of people. So on the 19th of November, we say that let's all find out where we are as a country. And if people too coward to come out, well, Trinidad can't save because it's going to get worse. 600 murders this year is not even the tip of the iceberg. Trinidad is going to get frightening. But let's leave that alone for now. If we can't get people to come out and support us, then we have to accept we are not going to win an election. And if we're not going to win an election, stop it now. And leave it to the PNM and the UNC, and who could escape, escape. Because it can't take this long with this much information on a nightly basis, daily basis. So much information. And people not realize what we mean when we say the strength of the pack is the wolf. Each and every raindrop causes the flood. All of us together, standing together, is what will change it. And we don't have to wait 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. If 100,000 people come out and stand up in the road, you get a local government election because Faris will wet his pants. Yeah, Faris will wet his pants. Fitzgerald will shit his. If 100,000 people come out and stand up, you see, 100,000 people is more people than Trinidad Carnival. If 100,000 people brave enough, care enough, courageous enough, patriotic enough, selfless enough to come out and stand up, those who have problems and those who don't have problems right now, come out and stand up. All who want a better country, all who think that our justice system is madness, law enforcement, the courts, the administration of justice, madness. All those who think that Armour perjure himself in a foreign jurisdiction and he's still the Attorney General, madness. All those who think that Carl Member destroyed the economy and he's still the Minister of Finance, madness. The banks raping the people in this country, nobody doing nothing about it, madness. The country floods and has drought, madness. Our education system has 6 schools that function and the rest of them fail. 200,000 children, 20,000 children do SEA every year, and 10,000 by the time they reach Form 5 are out of the system, hustling, becoming vagrants, homeless, abandoned, drug addicts, criminals. We are Helen Francis said in a Calypso, we will create a bandit factory. We have a bandit factory in this country about 20 years now. So, all of it. Rohan Sinana and the roads, Del Singh wife, who their company used to make bank counters, now fixing pavement on Arapit Avenue, installing bus shelters. The whole country, but it's no different than when Rahal get the contract to build HDC house. Rahal was in the cloth business and all of a sudden he built a house. And that's what Trinidad is. Trinidad is political connection and you milk it for where you could get. And at this point, all of us need to know if all of us care enough about this country to stand together. There's something to stand for, there's someone to stand with. We've demonstrated our ability. We've demonstrated our commitment. We've demonstrated our strength. We've demonstrated structure, a real political party. We've eclipsed the opposition. As I say, eclipse 4 o'clock this morning. Jump out your bed, especially those in the West. We're having a blood moon tonight. You could take a look at it. But we've eclipsed the actual opposition. Now what's happening is people waiting to see what happens next. You cannot wait to see what happens next. You have to decide if what I and we are saying makes sense and come on board. Because if we go away, make no mistake, PNM and UNC have some junior parties in front there masquerading fear that controlled by the same people that control the PNM and the UNC. These people want the same things that Kamala and Keith want, you know. That life, that flash, that money in the bank. So they want. They want power. They want to be able to go and sit down in the Hyatt. I just laugh at that. When UNC was in power, UNC controlled the Hyatt. It's like the fight is to control the drinking ground. And the same little hoes that come in to sleep with the UNC ministers, sleeping with the PNM ministers tonight, lying by the bar and smiling at you, and because you have a government work, you feel there's a big dick now, and you can go and sleep with other people's hoes. And that's politics in Trinidad. That's why we have so many problems, because we have little dick men masquerading as big dick men in Hyatt, and don't know what the hell they're doing in the job. None of them know. Not even the Prime Minister. Your Prime Minister is as dumb as a post. You listen to him. Unscripted, he's a klutz. He's a fool. In the textbook definition of a fool. He's a performing, dancing bear. Your Prime Minister's an ass. Aren't you ashamed? Strong, independent, intelligent black people in Trinidad to settle for Keith Rowley as a leader. You're not ashamed. That was Manning attack dog. He literally bring him in the party as his attack dog, call him his Rottweiler, and sick him on Ramesh Lawrence Maraj. That is Keith Rowley claim to be. You're not ashamed, sick, upset. UNC, you'll have 12 people in your Monday night forum tonight. 12, your audience, all of the chairs are empty. Your party is dead. D-E-A-D, dead. They cannot win an election. Continuing to support this UNC is working to vote the PNM into office. Make no mistake about that. Make no mistake. It's time for a shift, a paradigm shift. It's time to change the way we do politics. It's time. I sit in here tonight wondering if people are aware. Anthony Robbins said, when you're going over the falls, that's not the time to try to solve the problem. Your solution was a couple miles upriver. But they have you all drunk and whining. And you all... And we jokers. And we have a joke for everything. And we have a meme for everything. And it's tiring. That's what it is. It's tiring. It's tiring. And it's starting to feel like at this point, with the amount of information we've put in the public space, if Trinidadians have not yet woken up to their responsibility in the country, there's no point. And personally, I am fed up of this fight, because we are not supposed to be still fighting to wake people up. People should be awake. But the boiling frog analogy is perfect for Trinidad. We just gonna sit down in that water, and as they turn up that heat and get boiled. Yeah? So I don't know. We are going to have this event on the 19th of November at Bamboo. We're going to have very powerful speakers, good entertainment, security, parking, and all of that. But even if it was just me standing up with a microphone, it should be enough with all the work that we've done to bring you out in your thousands. So we're going to see what's happening on the 19th of November, and then we'll be able to assess what happens next. And you, whoever you are, however you take what I'm saying tonight, if what you want is a better country, you need to come on board. You need to help us make this a reality. You need to help us win. There are too many problems in Trinidad and Tobago. There are too many. I did the video because I also wanted a video tonight, but I really upset that it takes so much sacrifice and so many people could just add 1% of what we do, 2% of what we do, and shift the whole paradigm. But people are too lazy, and maybe that is supposed to be the legacy of the country. I don't know. I'm not in the right frame of mind to do a live video tonight. I am upset that people are still walking around thinking PNM or UNC. And if that is where we have to go, then the rest of us should save ourselves the time, the effort, and the stress. If you think that what we're doing is a good job, give us the encouragement. Come out in your numbers on the 19th of November at Bamboo number 1. Come out in your numbers. Bring out your people. Let us do this job. Yeah? Until tomorrow. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.